Hello and welcome to Reddit on Reddit, the internet's auditory version of Reddit. I'm Nelson Allingham, joined by Michael Campbell.
Can I reveal something to you?
No.
This is something, okay. This is going to be a short episode.
Okay.
Because all I want to do this episode is reveal things to you.
Don't reveal anything, like your thoughts on topics or anything like that.
Okay.
Keep them a secret. Nobody wants to hear them, Cambo.
Can I reply to anything that you posit?
No.
Okay.
See you later, Cambo. By the way, this is me firing you.
No, I just want it known that we play the intro live every week.
Yep.
And then we just shut up during the intro so we don't have to edit anything.
Yeah.
Every single week, I take a gulp of water during that intro, away from the microphone so you can't hear it.
Yeah.
And then as it's in my mouth before I swallow, I stop and go, oh, if I swallow this wrong, I'm going to start coughing everywhere. And then I get really nervous. And then I swallow it really slowly.
That's worse, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. Because, like, I know I don't want to brag, but I know how to drink. But do you ever get that thing, like, when you know you need to be quiet and suddenly your throat might just go during the middle of a swallow?
Do you know what does it for me sometimes? Is I like to think it's on the same sort of caliber of like getting nervous unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Is like, let's say I'm working on a file at work.
Yep.
And for one reason or another, I've accidentally clicked the delete button, and it comes up with, "Are you sure you want to delete this?" Especially because at work, it's like everything's saved on a server. So if you just delete it, there's no recycle bin. It's just gone. And I get uncomfortably nervous about clicking the cancel button because like this. And I think this is because one time it's happened where I've like, not necessarily this, but something at home where I like need to press the cancel button and I've like slipped and clicked the yes, definitely delete this. Where
I also get I get this same thing, but I get unreasonably nervous even if it's like, I'll cancel. It says, are you sure you want to cancel? And I'm hovering over the yes button. I'm like, I'm confident this is the yes button. But part of me is scared that really I've somehow going to click no.
There is also, there's a really popular, I think, gamer thing. A lot of gamers experience the same thing where you'll like save the game. Maybe you've made a lot of progress. You'll save the game and then you'll go to quit the game and it'll say all unsaved progress will be lost. Are you sure you want to continue? And I guarantee you the amount of people that have gone, no, go back in, save again. I know I already saved, but I'm just going to save again just in case. And then it comes out with the error message again. You're like, give it 30 seconds. Just think about it. You're okay, I'm definitely sure I want to leave.
This is like, and I know we've talked about this on the show years ago at this point, but I've never walked away from my car locking it just once. Lock, take a couple of steps, go, I'm not confident I actually did that. Lock again.
Do you know what will help you with that?
You've done this before, I believe, this bit of advice, but for newer listeners.
Okay, maybe.
Is it to do with like your socks?
No, that's weird.
You last time you posited, if I remember correctly, a device to be like, you say something in your head, and I think your example was like, I'm wearing blue socks and I've locked my car.
I didn't do that. Man, that might have been a guess that we had on maybe. I don't know.
It doesn't seem likely in this track record. We've had like 3 guests. So.
I don't remember saying that. Well, I don't do that. I never have done that.
Okay.
Here's my advice, Cambo. Get a car in which only 50% of the doors lock. Then you just know that your car is always unlocked and ready for the taking, and you just don't worry about it.
There's nothing you can do anyway.
You can't. You can't fix that situation. So like, but what's weird is I still lock the doors, which then locks 50% of the doors. So
are you hoping that, say, an opportunistic thief comes along, and they do try one of the locked doors, and they go, well, I assume they're all locked.
Obviously, I can't get through this. What I think would be really funny is if one day my car's stolen, I find it, and it's down in a ditch somewhere, and clearly the way that the thief has got through is like by breaking a window. Like, you idiot. You just didn't try enough doors.
I see someone didn't try the back left door.
Yeah, exactly. Because here's the thing. Turns out I took it to an electrician once, auto electrician, and they were like, yeah, so all it needs is like this plastic part. he said, but it's going to cost $500 and you need one for every door. And I need it for like, it also has to do with the like central, remote locking as well.
Right.
So I can't remote lock even the 2 doors that do lock. So he's like, so you need to replace all the doors. So it's like $2,000.
Can you
just to like?
Can you manually lock the doors?
Yes, I can.
So why don't you keep them manually locked at all times? Because
Yes,
I feel like you don't have many passengers.
Sometimes I do.
Yeah.
And then other times I forget that I've like unlocked it because I put something in the back seat. And then
Yeah. But you're potentially walking around with $1,000 extra in your pocket because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
$500 a pop.
Yeah, do that. If I have to do all 4 doors.
Oh, all 4. Yeah.
So who's the genius now? Cambo? Me. This is also what I thought. Somebody, aka listeners of the show, should work out what that part is that I specifically need for my doors. Honda Civic, by the way. And then 3D print it.
Yeah.
I feel like you can make a lot of money 3D printing the right spare parts of just different stuff around the world.
Wait, does the part cost $500 or does the installation of the part?
No, he's saying like the part is I think he's like in total probably.
I definitely think then if you go to Thingiverse, which has 3D models, you can probably custom order the print for like $10.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is I don't know what I'm looking for. And like
ring him back and be like, hey, I don't know if you remember me from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What was that little plastic bit? He's like, Nelson, of course I remember you.
Yeah. You left such an impression. You were really angry. You threw something through a window. It cost me a lot of money. I'm going to charge you for that, by the way. And then I hang up. And then I'm back to square one. Anyway, let's get into the show.
What a digression at the beginning of that episode was.
I'm not sorry about it.
This reminds me of Stacey has someone that works with her. I was just going to hate that I'm mentioning this.
Yeah.
That listens to the podcast.
Yeah.
To our bafflement. Mm-hmm. Because no one that we know listens to the podcast generally.
Yeah.
And Stacey was perplexed the other day when she recommended a different podcast to this worker.
Yeah.
And she said, but is it as good as Reddit on Reddit?
Yeah.
I would like to defer that one listener. I'm now talking directly to you.
Yeah.
Look back at the last 7 minutes.
Yeah.
We've talked about locking cars predominantly.
The real question is, what podcast isn't better than this
podcast?
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Even Reddit on Reddit rivals it.
It's better in my opinion.
Yeah.
They came out with less episodes.
To their absolute benefit.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into it. This one was by Marvel's Grantman 136. Sarah Michelle Gellar would cast Zendaya in Buffy reboot. I vote Zendaya, I think is the quote.
Yes.
That maybe
Now,
Sarah Michelle Gellar wrote.
I did see this news during the week.
Yep.
As a Buffy diehard, I'll say a ride or die.
Mm-hmm. Which is confusing because I'm also a diehard. So,
Yes, yeah. You're a diehard stan, but a Buffy diehard.
Yeah. Yes.
One, do you think they'll ever reboot it? 2, if they do, I think. What's your exposure to Zendaya generally? Is it just the Spider-Man movies and one episode of Euphoria?
I watched one episode of Euphoria.
Too scared to keep going?
Yeah. Wait, what else has she been in? Because actually, for some reason, I feel like I have watched something else that she was in.
Here's what I find fascinating about Zendaya.
Yeah.
I believe she's like a Disney Channel kid originally.
Right.
That's where she broke out from.
Right.
But for the level of fame and like a critical acclaim, whatever she's achieved, surprisingly small output.
Right. Okay.
So Spider-Man movies, Dune, Greatest Showman are probably...
Oh, I would have seen her in Greatest Showman.
Yeah, theatrically wise, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's been in small parts here and there. And then Euphoria on TV, apart from her Disney Channel stuff. Like, it's not a huge output, but she's like massively famous.
Yeah. It's really weird, isn't it? It's because she's dating Tom Holland as well. And everybody wants to date Tom Holland.
Even when that happened, I feel like it was like, wow, that was like a power couple instantly.
Yeah.
Because she was already so famous.
Yeah.
I became knowledgeable of her during the Spider-Man movies. But by that point, I felt out of the loop. I'm like, who is Zendaya and why is everyone so excited that she's cast in this? Like, it made me feel quite old.
Yeah.
Now, having watched Euphoria, I love it. But do you think they'll reboot it? And if they do, What do you think it is?
First, I'd just like to touch on something that occasionally I like to think about. Okay, it just had some relevance to what you said before. She said she was like a Disney person. I always like to remember that Shia LaBeouf, I think, came from Even Stevens.
Yeah.
To me, that blows my mind every time I think about it. I'm like, he's so crazy.
Ryan Gosling was on the Mickey Mouse Club.
Oh, yeah, but like Ryan Gosling is like a relatively normal person. To me, it's just, it's funny that Shia LaBeouf is now such an insane person.
Yeah.
And to look back and be like, he was just like this innocent kid on the Disney Channel.
Yeah.
And now, whoa, he's living on planet Mars.
I think, I mean, we haven't seen Zendaya's final form yet, perhaps, but I'm amazed whenever a child actor doesn't turn out like Shia LaBeouf. You know, like you look at like Lindsay Lohan or Amanda Bynes or any of the people that got really famous really early, apart from like the Harry Potter kids, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm amazed whenever they come out pretty well adjusted.
I think it's funny because I reckon there's always something just a little bit off with child actors when you see them like interviewed or something. Two in particular, right, which is Ashley Johnson and Taliesin Jaffe, who they're actually both on the Critical Role D&D show that I watch.
Yep.
And they were both child actors. And they're just both like just a tiny bit off, you know? And like still lovely people and, you know, nothing against them sort of. But I'm just like, I think there's just things that child actors miss in their youth that they can't get back in their adult life, and they're just a bit off.
I am enjoying in the more recent years Macaulay Culkin. He wasn't okay for a while. He got pretty out there, I think, but now just seems to be enjoying he has the ability to make people feel old instantly. Which I think he likes to tweet about pretty regularly. Like, just to let you know I'm this old. And two, he now has obviously just made his money and is completely content not doing anything anymore. So much so that there's a YouTube channel I watch sometimes called Red Letter Media. They do like film reviews and analysis and stuff like that. They're quite cynical and very dry sense of humor. And just as a joke, sometimes he'll turn up on it.
Yeah.
Like, for no reason other than, like, it'll just be kind of funny for Macaulay Culkin, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Do you reckon he might find it kind of funny to come off on this podcast?
I'd love it.
Yeah.
He has his own podcast now called Bunny Ears. So maybe we could float that crossover idea.
Do a crossover. We'll tell him that we'll promote his podcast on ours. That's
the fool.
Yeah.
Because at the end he'll be like, so do you guys insert the promotion like afterwards or whatever? Like, yeah, big time.
Yeah. We'll we don't do any we don't do any editing in this show, but let's vow now that if we have Macaulay Culkin on the show, we'll edit out the part where he talks about his podcast.
Like, we'll plug rabbit ears. It's called bunny ears. Whatever, Macaulay.
I like that maybe we get the setup like all the way to like, oh yeah, I've been working on this project. It's called Beep. And I'm really proud of it.
You can find it Beep. Just the whole time we'll keep asking him about Succession, even though that's his brother. And again, that's Kieran. Oh, that's Kieran Culkin on Succession. Right. So you don't know what's going to happen in season 4 or anything?
Yes, I'm like, you know. Also, can you do the face?
Yeah.
You know.
It seems really improvised. Is that show like improvised a lot? I don't. I've not been on. No, I'm not on Succession. Yeah, but what do you vibe? Like, is Kieran?
Yeah.
Do the face again.
Yeah. I've realized that I don't really like you aside from the face. So yeah. Anywho, what do I
Richard
think
Rich
about?
sucked, by the way. Even as a kid, I thought it sucked, but I did want that McDonald's inside my house.
That was a great movie. I wish Richard Rich all the time when I was younger.
I'm going to tease you. Nostalgic movies coming up later in my podnapping.
Oh, I hope it's Richard Rich.
Nope.
Well, anyway, what do I think about the Buffy reboot?
Yeah.
Potential. First of all,
I forgot that's what
First of all, I think quite possibly could happen. There's been a lot of buzz about it at the moment because I think Buffy had a anniversary rather.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, 50 years or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And And there was also a book that came out, which I don't read anywhere near as much as I used to when I was younger. And it's the one book that I'm like, this might be the one that gets me back into reading, because I was like, I'm really interested to know. It seems as though the author has had one-on-one interviews with, I think, a lot of the main cast, including Sarah Michelle Gellar, which, like, she very quite often, she tries to distance herself from
He's
Buffy.
like, I don't know, ask Zendaya.
Yeah.
Ask Zendaya and then ask her all these questions.
Yeah. I reckon there's actually been something, and I only say this just from like vague context of things that random articles I read, that like maybe Sarah Michelle Gellar is now slowly coming down around to the like, it's okay to enjoy Buffy again and be like, yeah, I was Buffy kind of thing. Yeah. I think she just went through this period of like, I do not want to associate with that at all.
Which I can completely understand. Imagine your whole life is that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, even when you're like, I've done it for 10 years, I might step away. And the world is like, nope.
Yeah. Imagine you're Macaulay Culkin and everybody only knows you for your face.
Yeah.
For your, oh my God, face. I'm being robbed. So I think it's a possibility because, it's a bit of buzz about it. And also, surely there's a producer somewhere being like, I can make a ton of money of this, even if it flops.
Well, this is what I want to know is Joss Whedon obviously created Buffy, but created it for the Fox network, which is now technically Disney. Does he have any ownership of it, or does Disney? Because I would say probably the element that would stop it from getting made most is Joss Whedon.
Yeah,
Because at the moment, his cultural cachet is pretty low.
Yeah,
some of these allegations of infidelities and mistreatment of actors and women and stuff have come out.
Yeah.
Especially because Buffy had such pro-feminist themes. You'd need to, I would say, hire probably a female showrunner and not have Joss Whedon involved. But he might own a chunk of the rights.
It's good that it could be that he owns some of it for sure.
Like I know the guys that
definitely wasn't his idea to begin with, right? Like,
well, he wrote the original movie, didn't he? But again, was that like a project that he owned, or was it a right for hire? Yeah, because I know
he might have got like options halfway through or something.
Yeah, maybe. And like I know the guys that wrote Back to the Future own the rights to Back to the Future, so they're like, it'll never be remade.
Yeah,
while we're alive. To which studios are like, okay, we'll wait you out. Yeah, that's fine.
We've got a guy for this.
Yeah.
You'll be dead within a few days.
Yeah. So I wonder whether you own, because he would be the biggest hurdle, I think.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely right. And in fact, it's funny. So, I mean, I guess sort of joining points a little bit. I think Zendaya, definitely, in my mind, I think she would be really great.
Yeah.
Am I pronouncing it wrong, by the way? You say Zendaya.
I say
Zendaya. I feel like Zendaya is probably right. Anyway, and I think she would legitimately be really good for this role. I can totally picture her.
Yeah, she's playing as fuck.
Yeah, but also just like she has this like natural coolness about her, which I think Buffy sort of needs in a reboot. Like Buffy kind of wasn't that cool in the series a little bit, or it's just that really it was like so cheesy, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I guess she was cool, but like she was 90s cool, you know? And I feel like Zendaya is today kind of cool.
Here's my pitch, Hollywood. So listen up.
Okay.
You don't even need to do a hard reboot of this. I say fold this into Euphoria. It's a big hit already.
Yeah.
In the next season, vampires.
Oh, she's a slayer. What?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
She's got to tackle her addiction and vampires? Oh my God, how's she going to handle it?
That would be great. Yeah. No, I take that back. I watched the first episode of Euphoria and it was stressful. I liked it and I never want to see the show ever again.
Yeah, it doesn't get better.
Yeah, I know. When you told me that, I was like, why would I? This is not helping me.
I'd tap out there.
I'm done. It was depressing. But what I find sort of most interesting about this, right? So I think Zendaya would be a really good Buffy. I think that the show really was Joss Whedon, as much as anybody might hate to admit that.
It's the quippy Joss Whedon dialogue.
Yeah, like he really, to me, it's like even Sarah Michelle Gellar isn't as big a part in Buffy as what Joss was. Like, I think you could have recast her and Shagala probably.
Yeah.
I'd have a crush on that person. And, that would be the show. Like, it would still be just as good. So I'm nervous for a reboot anyway, because I think that you do need an exceptional writer. Like, you need somebody that's going to, I don't know, take it by the horns, and like not somebody that's going to be sort of passive about it, or not somebody that's going to try and kind of milk maybe like the previous Buffy. Like, I think it needs to be its own thing now. You just need to write it from scratch. You need to almost not even think about the previous Buffy existing. You know, you just have like the basic premise and like now turn it into your own show.
Yeah.
I think that's what needs to happen. But I very much suspect that won't happen. So anyway.
Yeah.
So how many, like percentage wise, how many of our listeners do you think are interested in, have watched Buffy or anything like that?
I would say probably they're more interested in Zendaya than Buffy.
Okay.
So hopefully
Oh,
that
so
kept
go
them around.
Hopefully they're not Macaulay Culkin fans.
We are.
Think about this, Macaulay Culkin fans. It's just the face, isn't it?
Yeah. We are firmly Kieran Culkin fans here at this podcast. And we want to ask him many questions, Macaulay's is, about his brother's show.
Yeah. I'm interested to know. And could maybe his brother come on for the podcast? Anyway, let's get into Ask Reddit. Ask Reddit. This Ask Reddit is by OK Entrepreneur 6942. What is a movie?
42, but not 420.
Yeah, they obviously ran out of characters.
69, 42.
Yeah. What is a movie that you consider to be as disturbing as it is beautiful?
I dare say that probably the go-to for this is like Requiem for a Dream. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Right,
In fact, you know what? We just talked about, I would put Euphoria probably in this camp as well.
Oh, yeah. That's
It's actually a really beautifully shot series, especially the second series. I guess because they just love burning money. They filmed it all on like vintage 35mm film.
Right.
So it has like genuine like film crackle in it now.
Yeah, right.
Which is why? Other than it obviously looks great. Like it's everything about that show is just like aesthetic.
Yeah.
But boy, it's difficult sometimes to watch as well.
Yeah. Funny that you mentioned Euphoria, because what I had on my list for this was the movie Candy.
Yeah.
Which had, what's his name in it?
Heath Ledger.
Yeah. I meant the Joker.
Jared Leto.
Yeah. Heath Ledger. And it is like it's a beautiful film, I think, in the way that it manages to convey the use of drugs in the way that I don't think a film or even TV show has ever been able to do for me. In the sense of the kind of highs and lows of it. The lows are the fucking worst. If you haven't seen this movie, it is really depressing.
It is a pretty low budget Australian movie. So I dare say probably some of our listeners maybe have never even heard of it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's got Heath Ledger and Abby Cornish. It's a good film.
Yeah. And what's his name? Lord, what's his face? You know? Oh, the Australian dude.
Lord.
Yeah.
The singer-songwriter.
No, Sir. Sir, Australian actor. Old guy. Lives in Camberwell.
Oh, okay, Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey Rush.
Right.
Sir Jeffrey. Isn't he a Sir?
I don't think so.
Make that up.
I don't think so.
Is he a Lord?
Lord of Camberwell.
Lord
the
of-
suburb, one suburb across from where we live now.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, we do often spot. I've seen him quite a few times, actually.
Yeah.
Side note on Jeffrey Rush.
Tune out now if you're a Jeffrey Rush fan.
Well, just that we had a friend that used to manage the theatre in Camberwell.
Yeah.
And just he's told some funny stories just about like what a event pest Jeffrey Rush is.
Yeah,
He would turn up to events he like wasn't invited to. He'd be
Yeah.
like, "Let me in, I'm Jeffrey Rush."
And they were
then
like-
drink all the wine.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh, well, here's Jeffrey Rush," and they would let him in.
Apparently there was calls sometimes to be like, "Oh, Jeffrey Rush is here."
Yeah, this is one of the stories that I remember about Jeffrey Rush was that there was this event. Some guy who worked with him, he was like some, I don't know, tech guy in one of the films. Literally can't remember which one it was. And he's like, oh, he was with his wife.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, look, I might say hi to Jeffrey. He might not remember who I am, but like, I just want to say hello. So he goes up to Jeffrey and he goes, oh, hey, I don't know if you remember me. And he's, oh, yeah, I remember you. He goes, oh, yeah, this is my wife. And he goes, oh, hello. And
sit down.
Yeah, sit down. And so he gets them to sit down and he very purposefully puts himself in between this man and his wife.
Uh-huh.
And he turns his back to the man and talks to his wife the entire night. And gets creepily drunk on wine, makes creepy conversation, is getting very flirty. And this whole time, the guy is like trying to get into the conversation, go around Jeffrey Rush's shoulder. And at one point, Jeffrey Rush turns around to him. He says, oh, sorry, to the lady.
Yeah.
Turns around to this guy and says, can you shut the fuck up and get out of here? I'm trying to get with this woman. Jeffrey Rush had forgotten that the guy instantly introduced her as his wife.
Yeah.
And just got really drunk and tried to hit on this woman. He's a creepy man.
Mm-hmm. And we'll just say for legal reasons, that was all a joke.
Oh.
What a joke.
Just a joke about good old
Jeffrey
Rush. Sir Jeffrey Rush, as I like to refer to him as. Anyway, yes, Candy. And what did you say? Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah.
Anything else?
They're both drug movies, to be fair.
Yeah. Here's one that I thought that wasn't actually, that also fits the bill. And probably more so than Candy in terms of being beautiful, which I think is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yep. Do you think that's disturbing?
It's not as disturbing as something like Candy or Requiem for a Dream, because they're more like make you feel bad,
Yeah.
But there is, I think,
it's sad, certainly.
It's sad and perhaps even disturbing with the concept, because obviously the concept is about erasing memories. And so I think that there's like kind of a disturbing element of that, of like, what is society like if we're able to remove kind of our memories and things like that. But I would say definitely beautiful. I think the way that it's filmed, it's very art housey.
Yeah. Directed by Michel Gondry, who is a really creative filmmaker. He does a lot of like almost impossible to work out how they did it practical effects.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's really, really creative film. Yeah. He once did a set of challenges where he would upload a video onto YouTube and people would have to work out how he did it.
Right.
And one was he completed a Rubik's Cube with his feet.
Yeah.
And people had to work out how he did it. Someone did finally crack it, which was that the footage is actually in reverse. But to sell it, he had two people walk past the door frame backwards to sell the fact that it's like forwards motion. He's just added little bits in the frame.
Yeah.
He also had... There was something inverted in the footage as well that looked like it was playing forwards, but was actually playing backwards in real life.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Very, very creative, man.
That's cool.
Yeah. I'll also chuck in, just for good measure, a movie called Mysterious Skin, which is actually about like survivors of sexual abuse, but it's also a very beautiful film about healing and brotherhood and things like that.
Yeah.
Got a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but pretty tough.
Yeah. Why do I put myself through some of those movies and TV shows? It's terrible. Watch Ted Lasso. It's lovely.
Ted Lasso has so little conflict.
Yeah.
It's actually crazy.
Yeah. Actually, do you know what's another good movie for that? It's the movie Chef, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's like pretty low stakes the whole time. At the start, like there's a little bit of conflict or whatever. Yeah. He quits his job and starts a food truck.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of nice.
Yeah. And even the conflict... The main conflict is that a reviewer gave him a bad review. Like, it's so low stakes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And also on the Ted Lasso front, also on Apple TV, who seem to be becoming the house of like wholesome content, weirdly. They released a movie called Coda recently. which again is just very low stakes, very wholesome, like a big warm hug of a film.
Yeah.
CODA stands for Child of Deaf Adult. So it's this young girl whose whole family is deaf except for her.
Right.
And she's a really good singer and she wants to be a singer, but her family can't hear her.
That's interesting.
Really, really lovely film.
Yeah.
It's so predictable and so whatever,
Yeah.
but it's so nice that
Yeah.
you just don't care.
Yeah. Oh,
So
cool.
if you watched Requiem for a Dream or Candy, whatever,
Yeah. Watch this straight after.
watch this straight after.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting. That's probably interesting in itself, right? Because there's probably people like that.
Yeah.
Children that, would grow up in a deaf family, have deaf parents. Wow, that's really, I've never really thought about that.
Yeah.
That's
It was
interesting.
2021, weirdly good year for deaf representation.
Oh, okay.
You had Only Murders in the Building, which was a show that was a pretty popular murder mystery. It had an entire episode from the point of view of a deaf person with no sound.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Hawkeye featured a pretty predominant deaf character where like all of her thing was American Sign Language.
Yeah.
CODA also released, which has like huge scenes that are all done with sign language and subtitles and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Here's another one. This is by Some Unsolicited Advice. The next US president is a current stand-up comic. Who do you want it to be and why?
Is a current what?
Stand-up comic.
Stand-up comic.
Yeah.
Oh God. Imagine if it was Bill Cosby. Because we can joke about it, but
I think some people might vote him in.
Yeah. Look at the track record. It's not great. Sexual abuse
No, but-
it certainly doesn't seem to count people out,
Yeah.
especially since he got off, which was fucking nuts.
I think probably, though, the people that would vote him in are the ones that are also racist.
Yeah. That's good.
We might be safe there.
Interesting stalemate we might find ourselves in.
Yeah.
What do I hate more?
Yeah.
Women, people that aren't like me.
It's tricky. It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
How about, let's just run through some classic stand-ups at the moment.
Well,
Let's go. So
presumably they need to be
age-wise.
Presumably they need to be American.
No,
Okay.
that's part of the fun.
Okay. Yeah, great.
I have somebody who has no idea about America. How about like age-wise? I think you could easily say Jerry Seinfeld.
Right. Yeah. Age-wise, they need to be 40 and above, I would say.
Yeah, because like
Was Obama one of the youngest? And I think he was just over 40 when he...
I think one of
yeah.
There's
probably one from way back in history that we have no idea about.
yeah.
We know like 10 presidents, and I think there's been like, what was Trump 45 or something?
Something like that. I only know Trump.
Yeah.
And the other one that you just said, I've forgotten already. Okay. So Jerry Seinfeld, for age reasons, up there.
Yeah.
You know who I think, actually, not a stand-up comic, but Arnold Schwarzenegger, definitely.
Yeah.
He could get a lot of votes.
That was his dream. Obviously he ran for governor and became governor. I honestly think because there's the law about having to be born in this country, which is that thing that Trump was trying to prove about Obama all these years.
Yeah.
I think like the only reason he didn't become president, honestly, because I think people would have voted for him, is because of that law.
Yeah.
So I want to get an idea of what Jerry Seinfeld as the president could be. Mm-hmm. So let's imagine he's at the podium, and we will. Oh, hang on. I think my phone is connected to this desk, which I don't want it to be. Okay. This will be a good bit. It'll be worth it.
Okay. High expectations, Cambo.
I mean, Putin, have you seen this guy? What's the deal with invading Ukraine?
Oh, yeah.
You can imagine it?
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Universal health care. Have you heard about this?
Everyone gets it. I mean, how do we all, if we all get it?
If you're sick, how am I paying?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then during every one of his press conferences, Kramer slides in at one point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe don't know. I don't know if people would get behind that. Otherwise, I think, American comedy. If we're trying to stick with that, there aren't many. How about if you went with somebody that was just like angry all the time, like Dennis Leary or somebody? Mm-hmm. He already had the thing. He's got that song about being an asshole.
Yeah, that's his one thing, pretty much.
Yeah, one thing. I've listened to his other stand-up comedy, and I'm like, oh yeah. I guess you're lucky you got that song.
Yeah, he pretty much ripped off Bill Hicks when Bill Hicks died. Dennis Leary was like, well, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll do his thing. I'll be a real cynical guy.
Yeah, but at least he's come out saying that he is.
An arsehole.
An arsehole.
Right, so you like his honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Could be like, it's starting off with somebody that's just saying it how it is. Just getting angry at stuff.
If you didn't have to stick with American stand-up comedian, what stand-up comedian do you think is funny but also smart enough?
Oh, yeah. It would
you go for like a David Mitchell or something?
I was literally just thinking David Mitchell. Yeah, I reckon it could be him. This is going to be relevant only to Australians, but Red Simons is...
Okay, wow, that's out of left field.
He's actually really smart.
He is very smart,
He is.
And he was also in the Skyhooks, I think. Which Australian band was he in?
I don't know.
He's in that... He has that song, Horror Movie, right there on my TV. That's his band.
I don't remember that song or band.
You don't remember Skyhooks?
No. That's how...
What, were you born in the 80s?
Yeah.
Oh, too young then. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that's... Nobody's going to know who that is.
Yep.
I think David Mitchell would be a pretty good one. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, like... who's another intelligent comedian? I mean, they obviously don't have to be intelligent to eventually become president.
Yeah, that's true.
But... how do you think Jimmy Carr would go?
I mean, no more offensive than the president they used to have. So
yeah,
I guess he's got that covered.
Yeah.
The tax laws would be pretty loose, I imagine. Jimmy and his tax record, is it all?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a hard one.
I'm thinking just scrap the taxes.
Yeah, I think that would be... But see, at least he's like called himself out on it, you know?
Oh, yeah, he's pretty good about it, yeah. I mean,
like...
he still didn't pay all the millions of dollars, but he's jokes about it, so that's pretty funny.
Why would you?
Yeah, I know. If you could get away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously before he passed away, Sean Locke, I would have loved to see his very pessimistic realism bleed into the American White House.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, we should move on into Today I Advice. So now it's time for Today I Learned. Let's play the intro to that. Today I Learned. And also sometimes advice. This advice is by Tommy K Music. How do you tell a bandmate that he needs to step up his game before we play live? I'm in a trio. Me and my friend are professional musicians. The last musician of the trio is a professional trade school person and plays music on the side as a hobby. He's having some trouble trying to keep up with us as we can work at a quicker pace than he can. I've only just realized that's a really weird way to phrase that.
Yeah.
That you can work at a quicker pace. That's not really...
when he says that, is he talking about like improvising quicker? Because I am impressed sometimes professional musicians, they'll be like, oh, it's in this key and this scale, and they'll just all start playing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ugh, don't know what any of that meant.
Still seems strange to say work at a quick pace. Anyway.
Because you don't drum in any kind of key.
Yeah. Like
you drum at a pace, I guess. But.
Yeah. I feel like it's... Yeah, like, I guess, because you can kind of pick up on the rhythm a little bit with, I think, that. Anyway... It's kind of beside the point. He keeps on pushing for the three of us to play live shows and play various different events when we are not ready. What's the best way to tell him that he needs to step up, or we need to be well prepared if he wants to play live with us without hurting his feelings? he also doesn't realize how much goes into planning and putting on a killer performance.
Look, this is the bad thing about people asking for advice.
Yep.
The answer is generally within the question they've asked.
Yeah.
How do I tell him that we need to be more prepared for live shows and that we need to step up because there's more than he thinks is all that stuff you wrote out?
Yeah.
Say it.
Show him. Send him a text message. Link this post.
Yeah. Don't write it out twice.
Obviously, what a waste.
Because I think everything that this person has presented is very reasonable, even handed.
Yeah.
Like, look, we're professional musicians. We've done it before. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah.
So the standard needs to be high, and I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah.
Isn't, I think, an offensive thing to say.
Yeah. I don't think that's particularly offensive either.
That being said, is you and I are both professional musicians, so obviously we hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
On the
On the daily. I'm telling other people normally.
Yeah. Sorry, we're saying this often.
These new up and comers think they're so good.
I can't keep up with this.
They can't. I'm really quick on the drums. I actually, my view of this is, tell me if you think I'm wrong, that I'm kind of on the side of the guy who's like, let's do some live shows.
Yeah.
Let's stop fucking around. Because I don't think it really takes much to be live ready for a trio.
Yeah.
And like playing at like a bar or something, like, I don't know, if you're playing somewhere more professional, if people are like paying money to see the band, that maybe that's less likely. But I think you should, my thing is like, you should get experience in the thing that you will do, professionally.
Yeah.
So like, get some sort of crappy gig at a bar in the corner where nobody's really going to pay attention to you. And just like, I think you need experience in that, because I think that you will learn a lot more doing that than just kind of practicing and trying to be like, oh, we've got to get this like perfect showdown before we even go to a live. Like, to me, that's so unrealistic of an expectation.
Yeah. And also, I would suggest that doing a live show, a crappy little gig, is probably the best way to prove everything you're saying to this guy.
Yeah, that's right.
The guy might come away and be like, oh man, we were unprepared for a lot of that.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep up with you guys. How'd you do it so quick?
Yeah, well, that's right. Like, that's such a good point as well. Is like, it's not going to hurt anyone for you to go to some place and play it out and see how, because I think you might also be surprised by perhaps this person being able to pick it up a little bit, or just be like, oh, that wasn't as bad as like we thought in rehearsal. Because in rehearsal, you're being like really particular about like, oh, gotta, get in real fast, for example. Yeah, is something that musicians often say.
Again, we have to say this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
The only way I can imagine this would ever blow up in their face is if their drummer says, I want to play live. And they're like, all right, well, you go find us a gig and we'll play live. Yeah. And he comes back and they're like, oh my God, we're opening for Green Day. We're going on tour with them. And then you can be like, oh, okay, well, we really need to practice more.
That's okay. Still, you do like a, Daft Punk did.
Wear helmets.
Yeah. Did anybody really know their names until they like got famous, make up names, do stuff? Gorillaz did the same thing, didn't they?
Yep. Animated band.
Yeah. You have that way, even if you suck.
Yeah.
That's your avatars. You can throw them in the bin.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Also, if you don't want to do that, before each song, be like, oh, thank you. This next song is a joke. Then if it's bad, everyone's like, well, it's bad, but it was a joke.
It was just a joke.
Yeah.
And then if it's really good, the only say that was just a
Actually,
joke.
sorry, that one was serious. I messed
My
up.
joke was that it was a joke.
Yeah.
Because obviously, due to the clapping, you really liked it. So there's that. Here's another one, Kembo. This is a Today I Learned. Oh wait, this is by Yureku. Today I learned that on average, half of all service dogs fail their training. Due to this poor rate, South Korea experimented with cloning service dogs that had already passed their training.
Wow.
The resulting clones passed at rates much higher than average.
Wow.
Isn't that so cool and interesting?
That is. I'm surprised they didn't also. So it says service dogs, talking about just military service dogs? Or are they talking about like seeing eye dogs and things like this as well?
It could be that.
Yeah.
I obviously didn't click on the link yet, but I've got lots of music stuff to do, you know? So
You got all those gigs.
got all these skills.
And you have to practice your speed, of which you can do music.
Yeah. Do you know the number one thing that lets down musicians is they don't practice their speed. You got to practice it constantly. So,
Well, one thing that I had kind of learned, I did some work with guide dog things here in Victoria, and there are a bunch of dogs that don't pass, but
yeah,
some
and
of them
they're put down,
don't.
shot in the head.
Some of them don't pass for like technical reasons. I think that they're the dogs to adopt because they're so well trained.
Yeah.
So there was one that didn't pass because he had this inner ear thing, which could potentially affect his hearing in future.
Right.
So they're like, we can't let him pass.
Yeah.
He'd gone through all the months and months of training.
Yeah.
He was like such a perfectly trained
Yeah.
dog, but it's just this potential risk that his hearing could be affected in the future.
Yeah.
Adopt that dog. It's an amazing dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's had thousands of dollars of training from some of the best people in the world.
Yeah. And then clone that dog.
Clone that dog. Clone the hearing thing out of it.
Clone it out of him, as they say.
Yeah. That's what doctors say. What do you, I got a club foot. I will clone that out of you.
Yeah.
It's a prestige situation where the original you will die. But the clone you will always live on.
Yeah. Without the comfort, obviously. It's very advanced technology. I think this is really cool and interesting. I did just click on the article then because you basically twisted my arm. And I think it is just all types. It was various different service dogs. And it's such an interesting thing to do because there's like this little part of my brain that when I hear about cloning, it's like my brain's like, oh, it's a bit unnatural and kind of weird. And like, should we be messing with the evolution of life that much? Like, obviously, it's way more, unethical when it becomes humans, or potentially, I don't know, maybe there will be.
I feel like dogs are starting to get to that line. You know what I mean? Like, I feel a bit uneasy about it.
Because there's something to say, well, like, if you clone dogs and then theoretically you would end up breeding out imperfection.
Yeah.
Right? Because all the like slightly worse dogs, which is sort of, it just feels like it messes with life too much. Although I guess the domestication of wolves messed with life quite a bit in the first place.
Yeah. Look at Chihuahuas.
Yeah. What a pathetic wolf that is. But yeah, there's just something that's like if you just end up with the same, you end up just like eliminating a lot of variation by if cloning becomes the norm, because it will end up being like, well, why wouldn't you get a clone dog that you know is going to be perfectly healthy and whatever for its whole life?
People would become dog racist.
Yeah, that's right.
There'd be breeds of dogs that slowly stop being cloned, and
yeah. We are already dog racist. We just said Chihuahuas are pathetic.
Yes, it's true. But imagine the rest of the world was as dog racist as us.
Yeah. Oh god.
Do you know about Barbra Streisand, by the way?
She's a clone. Yeah.
Her dog is a clone.
Oh, okay.
She loved her dog.
Yeah.
Dog died. Had it cloned.
Has
the same dog.
See, it's weird.
Dog died again. Had it cloned again.
Oh, it's weird that you can just get it cloned.
See, I'm pretty uneasy about that.
Yeah, it seems weird, doesn't it? For like personal gain, for some reason, it seems weird. Like at least there's like an altruistic kind of nature with these service dogs, right? Because you're like, okay, they serve a purpose, kind of thing. There's a reason to. I would love to know though I'd love to speak to Barbara about this. We could maybe get her on the show.
We'll ask Macaulay if he knows.
Yeah. And just see what her experience has been with the dogs and how similar they are.
Yeah.
Or if there was. Because obviously that's like it answers such an interesting question of nature versus nurture, right? Because that's like the age-old question is what is more influential. And kind of people have just basically said, well, it's just a mixture of both. But what a boring answer. I want to know like how close that is, for somebody that's obviously loved their dog so much. You'd think the fact that she got it cloned a third time means that probably...
So I think I'm slightly wrong. I actually think that it didn't die twice. I think she got it cloned twice.
Oh, and she has got two...
Three
dogs.
I know the original one has since died.
Right.
But here she's sitting with 3 identical dogs.
Oh my God, that's insane. That is so weird. Yeah. It's funny too, isn't it? Because dogs mature so fast. It's like the only thing that you could do where you've got all of them in one kind of life. Like, well, I mean, you couldn't do that with a human, right? Because I feel like you have to start with the baby and then you've got a 40-year-old at the same time.
Yeah.
But dogs just seem like all kind of... their maturity that grows up at the same time. You have like kind of the exact same dog and personality
within a
and
year,
stuff.
you would probably have evened them out.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being Barbra Streisand's PA or whatever?
Yeah.
And her dog dies, and she's like, "Oh, it's terrible. Like, can you get me another one?"
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, was it a terrier? We'll go get you another. No. Get me another one of that dog.
Yeah. Until eventually, there's just a drawer full of these dogs that she just pulls out. They're frozen, obviously. They thaw after a bit.
Do you reckon they just went and got another white terrier? I was like, yeah, it's your dog again.
Definitely the same one. This cost $10 million, please. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Anyway, we should move on. Oh, wait, okay. I just want to touch on this point that made me think about as well, which is kind of depressing for everybody to know. And rather than keep this information in, I'd prefer to share it with everyone so that they can also be just as depressed as I am. Just because it has to do with genetics, which is, I guess, the point of this, right? Like certain dogs are just better at passing, after being trained.
Labradors, for example.
I learned, even within that, DNA-wise, you know.
Yeah. But not those pathetic chihuahuas was my point.
They would never. I learned from a friend that he was studying sports science in university, and he said he had a really depressing experience one day because he basically learned that all professional athletes are just... have the genetics to be that great and do well at their sport. And you will not be able to compete at their level in the slightest. No matter how much you train, how dedicated you are, your genetics won't ever match up to them and you will never get to their level. And it just seems like such a super depressing realization probably of, the world that like you could love something wholeheartedly and really want to make that your career.
You're just not built for it.
Just won't. Yeah. You physically won't be able to get there. And it's like, oh, how depressing is that? And that's why you hear about things of like different sports people, their children follow in the same sport and they play just as well kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, it's because it's literally in their genes. But yeah. Anywho, let's move on. Shower thoughts.
Shower thoughts, shower thoughts, shower thoughts.
This shower thought is by Bert46. In your 30s, young people think you're old, and old people think you're young.
So, we have both entered our 30s now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about this statement? Do you feel old or young?
I feel... what do I feel? I think it's sometimes dependent on stuff, actually. It's like situational. Because when it comes to technology, I still sort of feel... No, actually, that's not even true. I sort of feel young, but only if I'm like talking to my parents about technology.
Okay. Yeah.
But then I'll see... It's like a younger kid doing, I don't know, working with an iPad or something. Like my youngest nephew, the way that this blew my mind. It's going to sound not that exciting. But he was watching like YouTube videos and he clicked the skip ads button and like he doesn't even really talk yet. And I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That he's just so used to that at the moment. And I was like, he will get to a point where I'll be the old guy that's like, I don't know how to use this device. And he'll just intuitively know how to use it.
You should have leant over and gone, you don't even have YouTube Premium. Oh my God.
Oh, you disgust me.
Yeah, that's an interesting development in children's evolution. The other thing I've found, one of the mums at the place I work said her kid, there was a magazine in front of them and they did the gesture to swipe up.
Oh, yeah.
Because obviously a lot of what you read and interact with is on the screen.
I find that nuts. Yeah. I've heard that before. Yeah. Even my niece one time went to zoom in on something.
Really?
Yeah. And my sister, her mum, made a video and was like, Mila, tell everybody what you did. And she was like, I tried to do this. And it's like, it's so funny to us, but like when you've only grown up with media via screens, it sort of makes sense,
Yeah,
and like you don't necessarily. I mean, my niece was old enough. I think she kind of just had a bit of a moment where she was like engrossed in what she was looking at and just wanted to zoom in on it. But yeah, it's really funny, isn't it, that those sort of traits I think are going to just come out.
Weirdly, the thing that comforts me about age, and this is an unhealthy way to do it, is celebrity. Because sometimes I'll see a celebrity, I'm like, oh, they're 42. They look great.
Yeah.
If I look anywhere like that at 42, that's great. It's not so old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, every time, there's always like a celebrity roughly 10 years older than me that I'll see like, oh, but they still look good. That's fine. This is fine. This will be fine.
Yeah. I can get it. Yeah. But do you consider yourself young or old, do you think?
I think still young, especially because we're still doing all the stuff that I think is considered young, like getting married and buying a house and things, which are generally considered like young things to do, albeit our generation has been delayed like 8 years behind the previous one. It's been delayed behind that. So like our parents bought houses in their like early 20s.
Yeah.
And we're buying in their early 30s. But it's still, I feel like this is you're starting your life, this part of your life thing,
Yeah, that's true. I do you know what I am surprised about the most is I saw something on Reddit the other day actually.
On this
that was
show?
something related to yeah.
Doesn't seem the appropriate place to pick it up, but okay.
And it was oh crap, I can't remember, but it was saying that it was talking about retirement and how people are retiring at 60, and what was so interesting is so many comments. I can't tell you how many went through, and they were like, you're basically an old, decrepit, worthless piece of crap when you're 60. So many comments.
Yeah.
Just thought that when you turn 60 or roughly 60, like you're dying. Like you are so close to death.
Yeah.
And I just thought how goddamn amazing.
You don't have another 30 years in you.
That's why that's right. Like
I'm sure all the people commenting that are under 30, they have more than your life left on average.
Exactly, on average. And it's just, I was seriously like, and not one comment correcting them. You know how I've said before, my theory about Reddit is that a lot of young people are on it and post way more than people. I think people that view it are of like all ages, but people that post and comment are mainly young. I think this almost proved it because, but I think that probably what I was going to say is, as I get older, I realize those sort of older ages aren't as old themselves,
Yeah. And honestly, I don't mind aging. I've yet to hit the age where I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I'm old now.
I feel like some people get that even when they turn like 25 and 30 and all the milestones. But every time I'm like, yeah, good.
Yeah,
that feels about right.
Yeah. I think for me, it's about, I don't know, not my age or something, but like my body is more sore. Right now, I have a huge bit of tape on my back because I just went to the physio because I've had a really bad lower back for like a week or more. And so...
Do you make a noise when you get up from a chair?
I keep it in.
Right. But you still
So I'm
can
like,
keep it in.
Yeah. I can keep it in for the moment. Give me another couple of years, Cambo, and then that's when I'll be letting it out. No, but that to me is like getting older, and just like small things as well.
Yeah.
like
I'm-
I went
I'm
through a
waiting for
period.
my
This is
grey
a bit
hairs.
weird. Oh yeah, see, I've got quite a lot of grey hairs at the front.
Mine haven't come in yet, but they're
Yeah.
coming.
They'll
I've
get
seen my
there.
family. They're coming.
Yeah. Even one day, this is probably TMI, although I think for some reason I've shared it on the podcast before as well. But there was I had a month where it felt like I always needed to pee.
Oh, right.
And to me, that's just doesn't that sound like such an old person problem to
Yeah.
have? It's like you can imagine some old guy in a nursing home just being like, I always need to pee,
Yeah.
you know? And I felt like that for a month. I was like, I'm getting older because my body is like failing in weird and interesting ways. That's what makes me feel old. Anyway, here's another one. This is by Giga. Jedi would actually be terrible for truly diplomatic meetings. They can influence people's thoughts, so no one would ever believe they didn't just coerce their way into an agreement.
Well, you know what I find interesting about the concept of Jedi is the more they've been explored, the worse they seem.
Yeah.
Like in the original Star Wars, they're mentioned fleetingly, like, "Oh, I remember Jedi used to be around. They were these great warriors," and that's all you really had.
Yeah.
And the more and more you learn about them,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh yeah," and they all dress the same in weird cloaks.
Yeah.
And they're all celibate.
Yeah.
And they have to be kids when they're chosen, and they get taken away from society. You're like, whoa, hang on.
Yeah.
This sounds awful.
Yeah. I thought about the scenario of sending a Jedi in to a diplomatic meeting and the person going like, whoa, hey, I'm not feeling comfortable about this. You can, coerce me with your magic mind tricks. And the Jedi to then just go, get out their lightsaber and say, what do you think about it now? And they go, I'm sorry, sir. Yes, please.
Yeah.
So, I'll sign whatever treaty or something, whatever you want. I don't know. I think probably the history that we don't know is that the Jedi are the fucking worst.
Yeah, well, I think that-
they're the evil guys.
I think that, like, even those prequel movies, as fucking boring as they are,
Yeah.
pretty much prove that the Jedi were super ineffective at stopping a galactic superpower coming to power because they're just too worried about their own bullshit and tradition and whatever.
Yeah. I think I'm on the side of the Empire. That's all I'm
Which
saying.
I know, like, in some of the later ones, especially The Last Jedi, which was a pretty divisive film, people were upset that Luke was like, oh, let the Jedi die. I agree with it.
Yeah.
They seemed shit.
Yeah. Get rid of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should move on into podnapping.
Oh my God, I'm being podnapped.
Podnapping.
This is Podnapping, where we nap a pod. We take a topic of conversation or a segment from another thing, and we do it ourselves.
It's my week this week. Though this podnapping was actually suggested by Stacey.
Oh.
And in fact, it is a game that her and I just play in our regular lives. Therefore, it's movie-based,
Okay. Yeah.
classically. So this is something that we do, and it is a game that makes you consider your own nostalgia, I think. Because every now and then something will be on TV or something will come on, and I'll turn to Stacey and I'll say, do you think on Rotten Tomatoes this is fresh or rotten?
Oh.
And you need to consider how much you've grown up with it and love it, and how
Yeah.
much, like, from an objective viewpoint of critics,
Yeah.
it actually fared.
Yeah, okay.
And it's kind of harder than you think it is.
Are we going off critic score or?
Okay, this is what I've done.
Yeah.
All of these movies have better audience scores than critic scores,
Okay.
but some are fresh and some are rotten
Okay.
in this list.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw to you a movie, and I want you to tell me whether you vibe it's fresh or rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, really.
Yeah.
And then roughly what you think it's going to get.
Okay.
And then we'll also reveal what people actually thought of it, the audience score.
Okay.
I will clarify, to be fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, you actually need 60%, not 50%.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Good to know.
So I'm going to throw a couple of films at you now. If our listeners, if you came of age in the late 90s and early 2000s, please play along, because this will be exactly what this kind of is in this kind of niche area.
Yeah. If you're born later than that, go have a snack or something.
Yeah. Or learn about these films, I guess,
Oh yeah, that's true.
and which ones you should avoid, which ones are good.
Yeah. Is there a chance that there could be movies in here that I haven't watched? Or do you think pretty?
Look, possibly.
Okay.
I think lower chance.
Okay.
Okay, first one I'm going to throw at you.
Yeah.
Is it Fresh or Rotten? A Knight's Tale.
I feel like you started off with a real tough one because I watched it probably not that long. Oh, I say not that long ago. Maybe it was like 3 or 4 years ago, but still not that long ago for how long that movie came out. And I forgot that there's weird like Queen music numbers.
Yeah. It starts with like We Will Rock You or something,
Yeah,
right? And then they
'cause-
all dance to David Bowie later on.
I reckon most people's memory of it is like, oh yeah, like medieval movie.
Yeah,
But it's like,
called a lance, that kind of stuff. You know?
yeah, but they've just like they've put in these random like
Contemporary,
contemporary sort of scenes and stuff, and you're like, this is weird and it doesn't go very well. But I think otherwise, I enjoyed the movie.
I would say probably for most people a breakthrough performance for Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
I know technically it was like 2 hands or whatever, but I intended to head about you. But I would say a lot of people this could be their first Heath Ledger film.
Yeah. I'm gonna say then it is Fresh.
Mm-hmm. It is Rotten.
Rotten. Wait. By both? Wait. Yeah. Sorry, I
No,
forgot
the-
what I was doing. I'm doing the critic.
Critic.
Oh, do you know what? Okay, well, you said it already. But in my head, I was like, I could see a critic not. I could see a critic saying this
Here's
was
the interesting thing
rotten.
about Knight's Tale. Technically Rotten,
Yeah.
59%.
Oh!
It's 1% below being fresh.
Oh, that's funny.
Audience score, though, the people.
Yeah.
Where do you reckon they sit on it? What's your percentage
So,
score
I think
of audience?
definitely Fresh. Okay, I've got to remember critics first. I'm going to say it's like 73.
Oh, you're really close. It's 79.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
almost 80%
Yeah.
of people said, you know what?
Yeah.
And I think I have such nostalgia for that movie. I used to, we had
Yeah.
it on DVD. I used to watch it a lot.
Okay.
But for the ones that are rotten, I've actually pulled what the critical consensus was. This is what the critics...
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes does a summation of what all the critics basically were saying. So
Okay.
they've written it themselves, but it's a summary of what generally critics are saying.
Yeah.
Which is, once you get past the anachronisms, A Knight's Tale becomes predictable, if spirited, Rocky on horseback.
Right.
So I'm saying it's just kind of a derivative sports movie.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
Yeah, it
in
is,
the way
isn't
that plays out. But like again, see, I see that as totally like that's such a critic thing to say. But you could be like, yeah, it could have a same format. It's like all the Marvel movies have
Yeah.
the same format, but they're really good.
Also,
Like, all of them.
if you're like a 40-year-old critic who's grown up on Rocky, I can see that.
Yeah.
But I saw this before Rocky.
yeah,
So to me, I was like, this is so original.
brilliant. Yeah.
1999's The Mummy. Is that fresh or rotten? Remember, critics
Ooh.
first.
Okay, critics first. Sorry, critics first. I also have to think about what it's competing with, right? Which is probably Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I'd say
Right,
it's
if you're
a fair call.
Critic, kind of what you were saying earlier. They were comparing it with like Rocky or something. So I think they would think it's like worse than Indiana Jones.
Also, I will point out remake of the Universal horror movie of the same name, The Mummy. So the Mummy was a movie from the 1930s,
Right,
a Universal horror
okay.
like Frankenstein, The Mummy,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Which they did switch the genre on.
Yeah. I also think maybe though the CGI at the time might have been pretty good. So that would probably have an impact on the critics' score. So I'm going to say fresh.
Okay. Well, I'll say this. What are you vibing then as a critic score?
61.
Oh my god, it's 61%.
It's really, yeah.
It is. It's fresh at 61, so it's just fresh.
Yeah.
Just fresh.
See, that's easy. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I think it's just there for a critic. Yeah. But then audience score, I think I'm going to say much higher.
Mm-hmm.
You've actually thrown me off with a Knight's Tale being 80, basically 80%. Because I would think that maybe this would be higher than that. Or actually lower, but then, I don't know. I'm going to say it's in the 80s. I'm going to say it's like 83.
Oh, it's 75. So it is lower than a Knight's
it is
Tale.
lower. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But that one, fresh, but I only just got across the line.
Yeah.
What about Space Jam?
Ooh, Space Jam. I think this could be weirdly fresh because I think that sometimes the critics almost go the other way and they're like, yeah, it's just a bit of fun, you know? And because I think Space Jam is one of those nostalgia movies, like you were saying, where like probably the memory of it is better than the actual film when you go back to watch it. And so but I think critics at the time probably would have ate up the whole like Warner Brothers stuff. So I think I'm going to say that it was fresh.
What are you vibing as a score?
Oh, this one I find a little bit harder. But I think it could be quite a bit high. I'm going to say like 70%.
It's rotten.
Okay.
44%.
Oh, okay. All right.
So slightly lower.
That's like kind of how I feel about it. Though.
Yeah.
Like
I would honestly
I just
probably
thought-
put it even a bit lower than that.
Yeah,
maybe
right.
35% or something. You know?
Yeah. Okay, but then the audience score, I think
Audience
people
score.
will be more nostalgic about this more than anything. And it could be like really high. It could be like, I'm going to say 85%.
Only 63.
Oh,
which
okay.
really surprised me.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
I thought the same. Like, oh, people seem to love Space Jam. They're
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
really be biased here. And went on, and it is pretty much
Oh,
people
okay.
are like, it's not that good.
People went
Which-
back and watched it and they were like, oh, no, yeah, this isn't that good.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, what about the movie Rush Hour? Is that fresh or rotten?
Ooh. I quite like the movie Rush Hour. Yeah. I mean, I can't objectively see why it would be considered bad, especially for the first one, you know?
And this is just the first one.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe the sequels you could argue is like, oh, they're just trying to redo what they did in the first one or something. So I'm going to say it's fresh.
Okay.
And I'm vibing. I do hate critics though. I'm going to say, 70%.
It is fresh. 60%.
Oh,
It's literally
okay.
the exact percentage it needs to be fresh.
Yeah.
It couldn't be more on the line between
Right.
fresh and rotten.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay. Audience score, I'm going to say, I watched this not
I
that
love-
long ago.
I love
and
Rush
think it's
Hour.
great. I'm going in the 90s. That's how high I'm going. I'm going 92%.
78.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
That's disappointing. Look, I literally can't think of like a bad thing about that film. Maybe it hasn't aged well necessarily. in terms of some
the
things.
critical consensus, which I actually didn't copy, but I do remember it here,
Yeah.
was that it's kind of a formulaic buddy cop story, and it's just got the
Right.
flavoring of the Jackie Chan stunts over the top of it, which again, it's I guess kind of true. Like it is
Yeah.
to essentially, yeah. But again, it's like
Yeah.
my first buddy cop movie that I saw,
Yeah.
so I obviously have a soft spot for it.
But I still hate that idea that it's like, oh, it's been done before. Yeah, fucking everything's been done
yeah,
before.
yeah.
The whole point is that it's like different because they've done this different flavor,
They've
It's
added
like,
a twist.
yeah. I think that's got to be the point. Anyway, okay.
What about the movie Hook?
Hook. Ooh, the old Peter Pan.
With Robin Williams, directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say this is fresh too. Again, I can't really see why it wouldn't be. There's nothing obvious to me, so I'm gonna say it's fresh.
Yep.
I'm gonna say maybe a bit higher
Okay.
than my previous guess of 70%. Although I was wrong by that,
I've
by
seen it
10%.
as a kids movie classic, Hook.
Yeah. Maybe actually I will change that because I thought Rush Hour was 70% and then I was 10% off. No, wait, was that Rush Hour? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 75%.
It's rotten.
Really?
29%.
What? That is extremely low.
What do you reckon the audience score is, though?
It's got to be fresh, right? I just can't like to me that was one of the movies when I was younger. I watched heaps. Like I watched a lot. I still think it's like I still can't see what's like bad. I swear to fucking God, if the critics say, "Oh, this was just a formulaic Peter Pan story or something," I get angry. Okay, I'm gonna say it's fresh still.
Yep. What do you reckon
my
the audience
guess has
have rated
been
it?
way off. The
But
audience
I
score
think,
has been
I think this
closer
game is
to-
harder than you think
Yeah.
because you forget sometimes that critics do not give any leverage to something.
Yeah. Well, I don't ever like going by the critic score though, because I feel like they're
You're a man of the people.
normally so, in terms of my opinion, so far off. So I'm still going to go, I guess, with what I think of the movie, and I think it's in. That's what I'm going to do. Fuck every other thing I've been trying to justify now.
Yep.
I'm going to go with what I think.
Okay.
And I'm going to say this is like in the 80s. Let's say 80%.
Okay, it's 76, so you're not far off.
Okay.
76.
Yeah.
The critical consensus of Hook said, "The look of Hook is lively indeed, but Steven Spielberg directs it on autopilot here, giving in too quickly to his sentimental qualities."
That was just garbage. that sentence didn't say anything. That's rubbish.
All right, next one. There's a couple left. In fact, I might skip ahead a bit. The Mighty Ducks.
Well, Cambo, that's just formulaic team movie, obviously.
So you're going to get rotten.
The critics are calling that rotten. And I'm going to say it's 43%.
It is rotten. 21%.
Oh, my God. I have no faith in the critics
I can
anymore.
tell you, they said, The Mighty Ducks has feel-good goals, but it only scores a penalty shot for its predictability.
See, predictability, because they're like, oh, it's
Sorry,
it's a
just one
team
sec.
sport that's happening.
It's a kid's movie.
Yeah, exactly.
No shit.
Oh, my God.
Audience, though. How do you think the audience reacted?
Yeah, I think that's got to be, that was like a classic. So I'm going to say fresh again. It just seems like such a, like a classic almost. I'm going to say it's in, how do I feel about it? It's been a long time since I watched it. I'm going to say 78%.
78%. It was 65.
Okay.
So again, not as actually as fresh as I was expecting for that movie.
Yeah. I thought it feels like it should be higher based on the notoriety of that film,
Here's another classic kids film of our generation.
Yeah.
Jumanji. Talking about the original Jumanji,
Okay,
1996,
yeah.
Robin Williams.
See, again, I think this one probably could get extra points for the effects in the movie. From a critic point of view.
A classic Robin Williams performance.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go against what I've sort of been doing, and I because I've been inclined to actually say rotten recently because I feel like critics are so wrong. But for some reason, I'm feeling that this might just make it into fresh. In the 60s, I'm going to say.
It's rotten.
For fuck's sake.
55. So
Okay,
just
pretty
rotten.
close. Yeah, okay. Of course, it's fucking rotten. Okay. And then audience score, again, going to be high. How do I feel about it? Ooh. I've been a bit off with some of them. I'm going to say 77%.
No, 62. So again, not as high as I would expect for Jumanji. So here's a test for you. Original Jumanji, technically rotten, right? And I would say 55 and 62, like for both scores, a pretty middling score.
Yeah.
What do you think Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle got with The Rock?
Oh my God. If it scored higher on either, I'm going to throw your laptop through the window. So I'm going to say rotten then, and I'm going to say it lost probably... What was the one that got 20%? That it was like Hook or something, right?
Hook got 29 and Mighty Ducks got 21.
See, that's insane to me because I have this horrible feeling that the reboot Jumanji is going to score higher than those, which I think is wrong. I'm going to say 35.
It's fresh.
Fuck off.
76%.
Are you kidding me?
But what's the audience score? What did the audience feel about this?
It's got to be less than the original, hopefully.
Original audience score 62.
Oh my God. But people do love The Rock. I have to go with my gut and say that it's lower. I'm going to say... Oh, but would it be rotten? Yeah, I'm going to say it's rotten. I'm going to do it.
87%, Nelson.
What is wrong with the world? There is
Well,
no sense to this.
You want to hear my take?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Jungle's better.
What?
I firmly believe.
Really?
Yeah, I rewatched Jumanji probably about 3 years ago, the original one.
Okay.
I think after I watched the new one.
Yeah.
And I was like, the new one is less inventive, certainly.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm like, oh, it's really way better than it should be and pretty tightly made. Like, it's as a family movie, it's pretty darn good.
I do
Much
actually,
to- I hated on it a
remember
lot.
enjoying it.
Yeah.
To be fair,
when
and
it
in
was-
fact, I really only did the score then based on the fact that I wanted it to be less than the original, but not necessarily my own view of it because I think I did like it, but I still just felt like that robbed the first one because.
But it's funny. I was hating on it when it was releasing. I kind of like, the Rock and his cynical cash in of a franchise or whatever.
Yeah.
And Stacey actually saw it a bit early up at a movie convention in Queensland. I remember she came back and she was like, it was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I quite liked it. And I was kind of like, okay, idiot, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I had the same, when I came out of it, I was like, oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah,
like, much
yeah.
to my surprise.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I have to watch the first one again. Because again, as a kid, I watched Jumanji many times over and over again. The very first one. Quite enjoyed it. To me,
I think that it deserves more than its score.
Yeah,
But I actually think that the second one, as far as
Was
crowd-pleasing
better. Yeah.
kids entertainment, if you put both of them on for a kid these days, the second one will do way better than the first one.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we've got 3 more. We'll do a bit of a speed round. Back to the Future, fresh or rotten?
Rotten.
It's fresh, Nelson. 96%.
Really? I'm going against everything that I believe in now.
Now I'm just throwing curveballs at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Audience score, what do you think?
Well, that's got to be fresh. But I think less. I think maybe in the 80s. Let's say like 85.
94.
Oh, okay.
Audiences and critics, only 2% difference.
Whoa,
they pretty
that's
much agree on Back to the
surprising.
Future.
That's
How do
surprising.
they feel about Back to the Future 2?
Critics find that rubbish, obviously, because it's just formulaic of the first one.
Fresh or rotten?
It's rotten.
What score?
35.
Oh, that is rotten. It is fresh, but only 64.
Oh, okay.
I only just limped across the line. Audiences, though?
Let's go 72.
85. So it's for audiences only a pretty small diminishing returns between sequels.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last one I've got here, I just want to throw a curveball. Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Now, very divisive film when it came out.
Yeah. What's that one?
We went and saw this at a midnight screening together. I don't know if you remember that.
Right. Okay.
It is the one the of the sequel trilogy, the one right in the middle.
Right. I'm gonna say critics. Obviously, everybody hates Star Wars as a critic, so yeah, for that's low.
Mm-hmm.
In the 30s.
Okay.
Audience. A lot of people don't like Star Wars. Also, even the ones that love it, surprisingly.
Yeah. The more you love Star Wars,
So-
the more you fucking hate it.
But I think there was also like a subcategory of Star Wars people that are like, I just love that it's like newer,
There's also
CGI
a
and
subcategory
whatnot.
of people that started a petition to remake this film,
Right, yeah.
but different.
I think I might say it's like maybe just fresh from people, like low 60s.
I'll do this one in reverse.
Okay.
The audience score for this is only 42%.
Okay.
So
yeah.
divisive is exactly the word. Well, that's
Yeah.
almost not quite half of the
Yeah.
people. And then, like, people that hate it, hate it. People that
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Critics, 91. It's the highest rated Star Wars movie.
Whoa. If I was any one of these critics, aside from the ones that I think rated Back to the Future, I would have to quit my job because I'm just so off from
Yeah. I'll do a speed round for you right now. This is just off the top of my head now, not on the notes.
Yeah.
What's the Rotten Tomatoes critic score for Toy Story?
23%.
100%. What is
Whoa.
the critic score for Toy Story 2?
23%.
100%.
Oh.
What is the critic score for Toy Story 3?
I could get into a trap here. 100%.
97. They really dropped the ball on that last one.
Let that one down.
It's only a single negative review.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't trust critics ever.
That's a pretty good run of trilogy movies, though.
Yeah.
The third one dropped 3%.
Do you know what the audience score is?
They're also
comparison
pretty
to
high. I
those?
think they're in the 80s for all of them.
Yeah, right. Anyway.
Now on to the next segment, Nelson,
Now on to the next segment.
which is the end of the show.
Oh, well, we've been going so long, Cam. I think we should skip the AMAs for this week. What do you reckon?
No, let's do them.
Okay. All right, we don't have any. All right. Call my bluff.
We run out.
We've run out. If you'd like to write into us, you could do so. Reddit podcast, READIT podcast at gmail.com. You could also reach us at Facebook, Twitter, and our subreddit. They're all READIT podcast. We'd also appreciate if you could subscribe and rate the podcast.
Yep.
And go in and rate Jumanji higher.
The original Jumanji.
The original Jumanji.
What about Hook?
Rate that one higher. Wait, what did that end up as?
I know the audience score was okay for Hook. Actually.
Yeah.
Just Jumanji.
Just
Jumanji needs your help.
Jumanji.
Don't rate
Think
Jumanji
of
the next
Robin
level.
Williams.
That's the Rock one as well.
Do you love the fact that Robin Williams died? Is that why you're not, increasing the rating of that? Think about that, you horrible, horrible person.
And obviously rate us 5 stars.
And then obviously rate us 5 stars. Mainly the Jumanji thing, though.
Rate us 5
I'm
stars.
more invested on the first Jumanji than I am this podcast.
Here's the perfect compromise. Rate us 5 stars. Talk about Jumanji in the review
of
our show.
Yeah, nice. I like it. Anyway, thanks for listening, and we will read you later.